I'm John Gogliatino.
I'm Abigail Adams.
I'm Bob Opotzner.
I'm Nadia Gurwa.
And I'm Doris Hanley. Welcome to 30 Minutes.
Welcome to 30 Minutes. My name is Bob Opotzner. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Collins and Hannafin in Danbury, Connecticut. I'm a litigator, but today's show at 30 Minutes will be anything but about the law. We are very fortunate in Danbury, Connecticut, and the greater Danbury area to have some amazing volunteers and professionals who help us on various different important needs in the community. And one of the needs we have is to support people who are suffering from cancer, either themselves or their families. And there has been a development in our area known as Ann's Place. And we are so fortunate today to have the executive director of Ann's Place, Shannon Cobb to my right, who's going to tell us about this phenomenal program that does such wonderful things, and the volunteers, over 1,000 volunteers they have, and she'll tell you about that more later, who contribute to make people or help people with cancer and their families deal with the problem. Welcome, Shannon. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
It is my pleasure to have you on the show. I actually did a tour of Ann's Place on Wednesday night with some of her volunteers, and it was an amazing thing. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and the tour is worth 10,000 words. And I would suggest that anyone who sees this show and is interested in helping in this program, give you a call, give somebody a call at your facility to find out what Ann's Place is all about, because they need help, and it's phenomenal. What is Ann's Place?
So Ann's Place exists to help families facing cancer. We provide all kinds of support during their treatment and after their treatment for the person facing cancer and those in their family and who are journeying with them while they're going through cancer. We do counseling, we have wellness programs, and we have support services, support groups. We also do financial aid and education in the community as well, and we do all of this free of charge.
Free of charge. And we'll talk about that in a few moments about how you provide services free of charge, because you need a lot of funding and help from people. How did you get involved? What's your background? How did you get involved in this kind of activity?
Well, my personal background is all in volunteer management, in nonprofit work, in fundraising, in community engagement. And I'm always drawn towards organizations that get the community involved in an issue that is important to them. So I've been doing that for over 25 years. And 3 years ago, a friend of mine said, Ann's Place is looking for someone, and I applied, and I was delighted to be welcomed in by the Ann's Place family. And it is truly one of the most amazing organizations in building community involvement for families facing cancer, and it's just such a wonderful place to work.
Where's it located, the facility?
We're right off of Exit 1, off of 84, right in Danbury. We're a stone throw from Ridgefield, and just a little over the border from New York as well. So we serve the whole community, the greater Danbury area, a little into New York. Basically, anybody that's willing to drive to get to us is our service area.
The story of how Ann's Place facility was built was very interesting to me. Tell me about it. Did someone donate land? Is that how it began?
Yeah, there was a lot of things donated. There was a group of amazing people that started doing a capital campaign, and they raised about $2 million. And they were really excited. They broke ground, and then that was 2008, and the whole market crashed. And their dream for this
You mean
facility,
the stock market crashed?
Yeah, everything. So there wasn't a whole lot of money.
The need was still there for this facility.
Yes. Yes, the need was there, the dream was there to have this facility, but the funds were drying up. And so they went around and they actually started meeting with the different labor unions, different companies that could help, and literally thousands of people came out to build Ann's Place and get us the rest of the way there. It took 5 more years to finish it, but it's 17,000 square feet. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love giving tours to people who worked on the building but never saw the completed version, because they go through and they go, I built that. right there, that was me. I painted that, or I put the roof on that. And there's such ownership from this community and the facilities. Ann's Place has been around since 1991, but they were renting and using different buildings all over of Danbury for the services. And now we're housed in this beautiful location, built with love by the community, and it's gorgeous. It's just really well done.
I was impressed. As you walk into Ann's Place, you'll see on the wall, you have a wall called contractors who helped and unions who and you have various unions that helped free, right, to develop the project.
They were rotating in. We had the union reps organizing who was coming in. They just did a phenomenal job. They would come after work. They'd come on weekends. It was really an amazing process.
Now, what kind of facility, what kind of activities and services do you provide to people? Actually, we've asked the first question is, how do people know to come to Ann's Place to get help?
Well, luckily we're on shows like this one and people hear about us. Friends and family are really critical to getting people to call Ann's Place. People sometimes are hesitant to ask for help. Asking for help is difficult. So, being encouraged by friends and family is really important. So please refer anybody you know, and I would ask your viewers to do the same. Our next biggest referrer is the hospitals, the doctors. We have really good working relationships with doctors, the nurses, navigators at the hospital. They're very good at working with the patients, especially if they're newly diagnosed and they're really in a state of shock, a state of anxiety and stress about what their future holds. It's a really great time to have someone come in. But that's not the only time. We find sometimes 5 years later, after they have gone through treatment and they've been given that clean bill of health, somewhere around that 5-year marker can be a real stress for people. So we don't have any limit on when people can call us. If they feel that it is related to their cancer and they have stress and anxiety, they can call Ann's Place and we can connect them to services we feel will help them.
Now, Ann's Place does not provide the treatment for the patients, and you call them patients, don't you?
Clients.
Patients. Yeah. You actually do, it's working more with the head, so to speak, getting their mental health together. And I was very impressed in your little brochure that you have. I don't know if you can see this in the screen, but it says here, and this impressed me a great deal, Ann's Place provides help and hope. Yeah. Help and hope to those living with cancer and their loved ones. How do you go about providing hope? How do you guys do that?
Well, I think the most important thing to realize is that everybody is different, and what works for you is not something that's going to work for me. And so many people will come in and they just need to speak with somebody and kind of just let out some of those emotions, some of the things that are going on. Understand that they're okay, that those emotions aren't unusual. And so the counseling is very popular, especially for people who are right in the state of anxiety that's at the strongest. We also have people that just want to be in a yoga class, that want to be with others that are experiencing and facing cancer, and in a way that they can calm their bodies down. We have creative programs like art programs, knitting, horticulture therapy, things that really attract people who want to express themselves in other ways than just words. And then we have the support groups, so people who really need to be with others to talk through what's going on with a peer are really drawn towards our support groups. So we have 15 different support groups now, depending on what type of cancer you have or what age bracket you're in. We have one as young as the little kids that meets at the same time as parents. And then we also have some support groups for caregivers. And we also have a bereavement group as well. What's
the purpose of the support group? What do they try to do? Is it talking? What is it? How do they go about doing their functions?
Well, they're all facilitated by a clinician, so there is assistance there in dealing with a lot of the emotions and things. But I think a lot of what we as humans want to know is that what we're experiencing isn't unusual. We're not alone. And so being in a group of others shows people that, what is maybe ahead, gives them a hint of what others have gone through, things to expect, but also people that care about what they're going through and can empathize with them more fully.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did a show a few months ago, I think you may have seen it, with Jennifer Champagne, who was a mental health professional who got cancer and is recovered, and she talked about different things. And one thing she said, as I recall from her show, was that she has a lot of friends and a lot of close people and professionals and friends, whatever, but she had a particular friend who had gone through what she was going through as she was going through it, her breast cancer treatment. And she found that person to be particularly helpful because that person had the experience. And so you have those kind of support groups for your facility to help people out.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great point too, is you can be surrounded by friends and family and still feel very alone in your cancer journey. And being able to find the people you can express the emotions that are going on inside of you, where you feel comfortable, is so important for many people.
I found it interesting in doing the tour, and I was going to stay for 10 or 15 minutes. I'm staying for the whole hour and a half of the tour. Couldn't get rid of me. But you have various rooms set up, and they're really cool. I mean, it's such a calming atmosphere as you walk in. The colors and the walls, I'm sure were selected in certain ways. But you have an art room and you have a game room. How do you go about, for example, art? I was interested that you had an art program there. What's the purpose of the art program?
Well, there's many purposes for art in any of the creative programming. One is there's a response called the relaxation response. So when you are in your normal day-to-day routines and you're building up anxiety and stress, the relaxation response can happen when you do something outside of your normal routine. So when you leave the life, you come to Anne's place, you go into an art room and do something different, something creative, it actually triggers your brain to relax. So that's one really important role for the creative programs. Another is not everybody can put into words what's going on inside of them. And so you can see some really powerful works of art where people put into their work through colors, through expressions, through movement, some of the amazing types of feelings that are going on inside of them. And this really helps them heal and them have a way of expressing things that are difficult.
Yeah, and I couldn't draw, when I was in third grade, a tree, and I still can't draw a tree, but you had pictures in your art room of various level of quality, but for the person who did it, it meant something to that person, and I guess it somehow connects, it makes them relaxed to feel, maybe forget for a few moments what they're going through. Is that part of the process? You have other things as well. I think you had a dance, did you have a dance program of some type, or am I wrong in that regard, or music?
We have so many creative things because we have, I mentioned to you that we have 12 staff, but we have 36 pro bono staff. So volunteers that come in and they have so much joy and creativity in bringing new programs to Anne's Place. We had someone that just came and she said, I want to do divine sleep. And
What's divine sleep?
I had no idea. And so it basically was this really neat program where she helps people go all the way almost asleep, and it helps them relax their whole bodies, and then she kind of wakes them up a little and then lets them go almost to sleep again, and by the end of the process you feel almost fully rested. It's an amazing little thing, but it's very creative. Who would have thought to do something like that? So our volunteers bring lots of creativity like that. We did have a dance night one time. We've done karaoke nights. So it's really what the community brings to us and says, you know what, I'm an expert in this and I'd like to do a class teaching this. And we assess it and see if it will work for our clients, and then if it does, we launch it and clients will sign up.
Your enthusiasm is amazing, and I saw you that night for the volunteers, and there were only 6 people there plus me, and you had Lynn, who's one of your, what's her position, Lynn?
Community engagement.
What was her name?
Lynn Stubbe.
Right, and then you were there, and I figured, well, you're going to stay for 5 or 10 minutes and then let Lynn handle it from there, but no, you stayed the entire time, and the smile you have on your face right now was effusive, and the people who were the volunteers were really taken in by that. How do you maintain that kind of bubbly enthusiasm after all the hard work you do, because it is a hard job you have?
Yes, our staff are incredibly committed. Our volunteer staff are incredibly committed. So we do have to be really careful about self-care. We practice what we preach. Usually, some of us are better than others. I do have to remind myself to take time for myself, to meditate, to just have some quiet time. It's really easy to fill our lives up with noise and busyness and to feel guilt when we take time. But that time is really healing. And so we have to just kind of force ourselves to do it and not feel guilty about self-care, because we're better caregivers when we take care of ourselves.
There's a Reiki room, isn't it? Is it called Reiki?
Reiki, yes.
Yeah, what is Reiki for those who don't know?
It's an energy work where it helps people balance what they are doing. So basically the Reiki master will have them sit in a quiet room, they relax on a table, it's dim lights, and they help just balance you. So when you are done, you feel very much refreshed, you feel just sort of at peace. So it's a beautiful session. I'm not a Reiki specialist. I don't know exactly what's happening, but when I see a client walking in and they're stressed and they're tense, and then I see them after the Reiki session and they are relaxed and they just say, Shannon, that was so wonderful. That's all I need to know.
And your staff probably enjoys that as well. I'm sure they took advantage of that at some points in time.
Most of our services are just for our clients, but we do have one of our volunteers who insists on doing Reiki for our staff once a month. And so we rotate who gets to take those, and they're really, really relaxing. Again, it's that moment where you let yourself fully relax, and we just don't do that very often for ourselves.
I bet it's hard for the staff and the volunteers when obviously in what you're dealing with, people pass away and some unexpectedly and whatever. What do you do to try to help the staff and the volunteers to sort of keep a perspective and be strong as they can be? But it's hard. How do you maintain that kind of perspective for the staff and volunteers?
Right. Well, we do a lot of work where we help each other. We have to do a lot of listening. We work with our facilitators where they can come into our offices and just talk about a difficult case. We also have to make time to heal after someone passes away. Thankfully, most of our clients do survive and live on. Cancer treatments have advanced a great deal. But there are times when we lose somebody and we've worked with them for a while, and that hurts. And so we may have a small ceremony that we do as staff to say goodbye, a little memorial. But it's just really important for us to, listen to each other and take care of each other.
Tell me some of the other activities you have for your people. I know you have for the children. Some of the children who you see are young children whose parents are going through the cancer problems, and of course it affects the family. And you had a really cool children's room.
Yes, the children's room, everybody lights up when they see the kids' room. There's teddy bears everywhere, there's toys.
Foosball.
Foosball, yes.
I was going to play the foosball, but I decided you might yell at me if I used the foosball machine.
I would have played with you.
Okay, great.
We have our clinicians who are really good working with the kids. Children's hospitals who serve children with cancer really do a very good job of meeting the needs of the kids there. But when a parent has cancer and a young child is watching mom lose her hair, or dad's not going to work today, why is that? Why is he sleeping on the couch? They're asking a lot of questions, and they can feel the stress and the anxiety, and they take it on. And a lot of times parents don't know how to tell kids what's going on, and so that's where we fill the gap. We have a great group called our Kids Care Club. They meet all the kids that are usually around 12 and under. They come together, they get to see other kids that are going through the same thing, and at the same time we have a parent support group. And so the parents get together and get to talk about what it's like to be a young parent with cancer while raising kids. We had a really heartwarming moment a couple weeks ago where one of the young boys saw his friend come in, and he had just met him the prior meeting, and he got so excited and he jumps up and he runs across the room and he goes, "My best friend is here," and gives him this great big hug. And that just really touched all of us. It was very heartwarming for the team to see how the kids react to each other and how they bond.
You mentioned the loss of hair, and you have a wig room. Is it called the wig room?
We use the room for many things,
okay,
but we also...
I think it's called the wig room.
We do. We nickname everything.
Okay.
So yes, we have a partnership with Cancer Care, and so we work with them. We set up clients in the area who need wigs. They are people who maybe are about to start treatment. The loss of hair can be one of the most traumatic parts of going through treatment. And so this allows women to come in, select 1 or 2 wigs for free, where they can kind of prepare mentally for this moment. And it means a lot to them to be able to meet with someone, ask them, how do I wear a wig, how do I wear scarves, and just kind of have a moment where they can feel pretty again.
Yeah, I was very impressed with that discussion because I didn't even think about, I don't have a lot of here, but it's not because of what these people go through, and it must be particularly difficult for women, to go through that. And the way you were discussing it, the wig thing, you said some women would be very freaked out. Oh, I'm losing my hair, I lost my hair, and others say, come on, it's up, and it's just a very fun. You kind of lit up on that in that discussion. You and Lynn both.
Yeah.
You mentioned clinicians that you have at the facility. Are these professional people like social workers? What do you have for professional clinicians?
So most of our clinicians are licensed clinical social workers, and then we have one family and children's therapist as well. So they are trained and certified and licensed to do work in the state of Connecticut. Even our volunteers all are fully vetted to do the work that they do. If they're a yoga instructor, they've got all the certifications to do that. We do have a pretty in-depth process for interviewing our staff, whether they're paid or unpaid. And they are an incredibly skilled group of people. I'm always impressed with what they bring to the table.
Do you have full-time psychologists and social workers on staff, or do you just have consultants who come in? How does it, in terms of your clinicians?
They're on staff. Some are part-time, some are full-time, depending on what their job role is. And we're actually looking for 2 new licensed clinical social workers right now. We have some growth in our population over the last couple years, and we've really stretched our staff as long as we can go, and so now we're excited to bring a new person in. And then we have our director of clinical services is retiring after 19 years. People stay a long time at Ann's Place. They like being there, but that's going to leave a hole. So we're replacing her position as well. So.
You wrote something that I thought was very thoughtful and talks about you as a person and you as an executive director who must be, fun to work with. I'm sure sometimes you have to be cracking the whip and whatever, but you said, quote, "I love being in a place of incredible healing. Not only do I get to see the transformation of families from scared, depressed, and anxious to being in a place of hope, joy, and peace, but I also get to see a different kind of transformation." What are you talking about there?
Well, there's so many ways that people heal, and I think when people come to Ann's Place, you see it in clients, certainly. You see it in somebody who is in a state of anxiety and not sure where their life is going, and be able to help them transition to being at peace. But there's also transitions that are happening all around us at Ann's Place, in the community. We have people who want to donate who maybe have lost somebody to cancer, and they want to get involved, they want to volunteer. And I think Ann's Place offers a place of healing for the community as a whole, because so many people have been injured by cancer, and they find it a place where they can do something about it. They can do something for a family facing cancer now. They can make a meal, they can donate a teddy bear, they can volunteer at the office, they could come to one of our events, and they can be a donor, and they can sponsor somebody. So there's always something you can do to help. And I think that alone is transformative for a community. And so it's not just the 1,300 clients we serve, it's really the 4,000 people that get involved with Ann's Place through our events and through volunteering and donating that are also part of that transformation.
Now, it's impossible to give, quote, free services, unquote, without raising a huge budget. And I'm sure this is the fun part we're talking about of your job, but you also have to raise money. I've been to some of your events. My law firm has contributed to your activities. I've been to the holiday party, the Christmas lighting.
Festival of Trees.
Festival of Trees. And I've been to your women's fashion show. Although I didn't stay for the fashion, I just came for the one of your former board members, Paul Boasuza, who's one of my law partners, brought me to that event. What's the Festival of Trees? What's that all about?
So the Festival of the Trees has a huge group of volunteers that organize this 3-day festival. About 5,000 people from the community come to Festival of Trees. It is just an incredible event for kids, for families, and then there's some evening activities for a great date night or a day out with friends. So it's really just a fun event. We have 6 events in the year. Festival of Trees is our largest. It raises 20% of our budget.
Really?
Yes.
What's your budget anyway, out of curiosity?
$1.3 million
You have to
for
raise-
2020.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
So deep breath, the year just started, we're ready, but the goal is to get every one of our clients sponsored. It costs about $1,000 to sponsor a person for a full year of services, and we have 1,300 clients that come to us each year. So that's the goal. We start off at the beginning of the year with 0, and by the end of the year, 100% is the goal.
I think the one I went 2 years ago, I couldn't go last year. Rudy Marconi, I think, was a guest of honor, and they had a very funny show about that. What's your next event to raise
So
money?
the next one is going to be, we have a small coffee house that we do at Ann's Place. It's a small group of volunteers and artists that have decided they want to do music at Ann's Place. Those are very low key. The next big one is our fashion show in April, and that'll be at the Ridgefield Playhouse on
went to that.
April 29th. That's a lot of fun. People from the community come out to support our models. The models raise money. This year we're focusing on survivors, so all of the models will be survivors or have a family member. And we have a 5K race that's in August.
I participated in that also. That was at the
Amber Room Colonnade.
That's right.
Amber Room Colonnade, and they do a fantastic job just providing the food and the party
Had
afterwards.
hot dogs and ice cream.
Yeah,
but the fun part was
chocolate-covered strawberries.
Oh, it was great. If someone wants to volunteer, how do they get a hold of Ann's Place and say, I want to volunteer? What's the process?
Just go right onto our website and click on the volunteer button, and you can just scroll down and you can fill out a form, and you'll be able to sign up to volunteer and indicate what your preference are.
Can I have slowly your website?
Yes. So the website is annsplace.org, which is Ann, ANNSPLACE.org. annsplace.org.
And also, if you want to contribute money, it's probably a place to go also, but I won't discuss that.
That's right.
We have about half a minute left. I met you at the Brevity Luncheon recently. We talked for about a half an hour then. We've talked in our tours. You and I could talk another 2 hours in this show and still not hit all the highlights of what your organization does. I didn't really know, I'll be honest to say, how significant Ann's Place was until I went to the tour. Even though I contributed and I went to some events, it did not hit me until I walked into that room, and actually at your facility I saw this lady who was cleaning a wall. Was her name Jenna or something?
Tina.
Tina, and she was putting the devotion into that wall, and she talked about how much she loves your facility. I think anyone in our area, we're all going to be touched, if we haven't been touched already, by somebody having cancer, etc. You got to go visit Ann's Place just to say hello, see what's going on. Shannon Cobb, you've been wonderful. You do a great job. This has been Bob Opotzner, and I want to hope that you get involved and contribute your skills, your time, whatever, to Ann's Place, because it is a place that brings hope. Have a wonderful day.